welcome to episode number 11 of the Casual Tryhard Legends of Runeterra podcast. I'm your dude in Diamond, Anthony Rico Plays 1723, and with me today is the man that knows no sleep. It's Christos. How's it going, Christos?
Hello everyone. Welcome to the 11th episode. It's going great. Welcome Exiles. Anyone who plays Path of Exile, welcome aboard to the show. And it's been a hell of a week. It's been a good time.
He's doing the thing again where he does no sleep and all he does is play Path of Exile. I don't know how he does it, but that is...
It has to be. The grind never stops. We're out here pushing content.
Yeah, we're out here pushing content. That's Christos for you. So talking about content, today's episode is going to be pretty easy. We're not going to go through meta-analysis or anything like that. We're going to actually talk about the big announcement that Riot did yesterday, talking about the World Championship Tournament. I am super excited to talk about this because I feel like if Riot nails the first World Championship and gets it right, I think it just is only going to get bigger and better from that point on.
I agree.
Right? Like if we get this right now, man, we can keep Runeterra going. First, what we wanted to kind of do is just like talk about the, how to qualify, the format, and the kind of the logistics of the tournament. And then Christos and I are going to talk about kind of what we would like to see and what we want from the first World Championship. That sound about right, Christos?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. So the first big one, the first thing to talk about is that the World Championship is going to have a $200,000 prize pool. That's pretty good, man. Like for your first World Championship, that's pretty solid.
Yeah. So, fun fact, League of Legends, Riot's premier game, has a prize for the first team without including anything. Like they add on extra stuff, but the winnings for winning worlds in League of Legends is $250K, like base, and then they add a bunch of stuff on top of that. But that's like the very bare minimum you could possibly make for winning worlds in that game.
Oh, okay.
So to have that kind of support for Legends of Runeterra already, I think is a pretty good sign that Riot is happy with where things are going. So that's good.
Yes, that is awesome. That's a good first start. That's awesome. So they're gonna be 64 players from America that are gonna compete for 6 seats, 64 from Europe that will compete for 5, and 64 from Asia that will be combined with 64 players from the SEA to compete for 5 seats in the finals. So it looks like it's going to be 16. Yeah, there's going to be 16 seats in the finals that all these players are going to be fighting for. First things first, I really like that they are getting players from around the world to compete for it. It isn't one of those situations like in baseball where it's like the World Series, but it's just actually just
America.
Yeah, it's just America. So I do like that there are going to be players from all around the world competing for this event. In the spirit of competition, I want to make sure that what I would like to see is that I would like to see like those regions, like in those, like for the America tournament, they hype themselves up. The Europe tournament, they hype themselves up.
Mm-hmm.
And the Asia tournament to hype themselves up. So it becomes like a League of Legends situations where it's like, the East versus America versus Europe.
Yeah, East versus West.
Exactly. Because, like, in those type of situations, I know, like, there's always going to be those toxic people that are like, they can't win and blah, blah, blah. But it definitely helps out, kind of bring out the hype, and it brings out the fans to root for their regions, which I think for this to be successful, it definitely has to happen.
Absolutely. I would like to see in the future LATAM be able to have its own region.
Epa! You're a lot of
there's so many good players.
Yes. I was about to say a lot of our fans are going to love that one because we got a couple from Brazil. So there you go. You hear that? We are pro LATAM here, okay?
They're so good. You guys have Paulo? He's the GOAT.
Yes, he is.
Like, come on. You gotta give some respect to South America.
Yes.
Here. But it's good that they are like welcome into the Americas tournament. So
Yes.
I'm more okay with it than like if they were excluded. I'd be pretty upset if that were the case because there's some really good players, and I'm happy that SEA has its own too because some of the best card players of all time are from the Philippines, Japan, Korea.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we can just look at Magic and you can find a whole list of amazing players.
Yeah, there's incredible players all over the world. So as long as people have the representation, I am happy. Riot is pretty good about that sort of thing. So I think even going forward, we'll see better and better inclusion.
Yes. So that's what we have so far. So there's going to be three ways that the competitors can qualify. That's either based on their seasonal tournament play or their ranked performance. And then they're going to receive ranked points based on their performance from the two seasonals that have already happened, which is the Monuments of Power and the Cosmic Creation. And then from there, they're going to put everything on a list. Points will be configured, and everything will be put up onto the Runeterra website. So there's going to be 22 from ranked. So on the ladder, it's going to be based off, their points are going to be based off of your final rank at the end of each season. Points are only awarded to master rank players. And the top 22 players on each shard by the cutoff will earn a seat for the World Championship qualifiers. So
I
that's,
think
go
this
for
is
it.
really healthy for like ladder play. People are obviously gonna like turbo grind ladder to try to get this, but I think it's the best way to do it. Like MTG has a call for top 1,000
Right.
for like their like every other month type tournaments, but this one is pretty like hardcore. So you need to be like best of the best turbo grinder to qualify for this. If you're just doing it based on ladder.
Right.
Uh, whereas I'm sure the same people are playing in these tournaments and spiking them. So you just got to be top of your game. This doesn't really like create a toxic kind of environment like Magic tends to do. So I'm liking the way that this is set up. Like there's very clearly defined. You do good in this tournament. You do good on ladder. You go to Worlds, and that's that.
Yeah, it would, and I don't mean to be too harsh on Magic,
Ah,
but
I do.
but it would take me like 7 days to try to explain to you the pro league and
It's
how
because
things
no
are
one
over there.
knows. No one knows. It doesn't make any sense.
It's not the greatest it's been. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
And their score is based on their placement in 2 out of the 5 seasons leading up to the World Championship. So that's pretty cool. That's if you want to do it in ranked. Then there's going to be the seasonal tournament finalists. So the top 4 players from each shard's 5 seasonal tournaments will be guaranteed a seat in the World Championship qualifiers. So that's pretty cool. So people like the first tournament winner POP and the second tournament winner Majin Bay, they don't have to grind so much to be in this tournament because they already basically have their guaranteed seat in there. And it's nice to see that it's the top 4 that make it. So
Yeah, like in the past, like top fouring an event kind of feels bad because you don't like get a great payout for it, and there's no like invite most of the time. But it's nice to see like at least top four. Like sometimes it's top eight for certain things, but top four get an invite is pretty tight.
yeah, I was gonna say it's not going to be that heart wrenching if you don't like win it all because that's how you
Yeah,
usually have to do it. You have to win it all. So being top 4, that is awesome. And then the third way is going to be 22 seats from seasonal tournament points. So these points are granted based on performance in each seasonal tournament. 1 point will be awarded per game won in both the open round and playoff phase. And then points from all seasonal tournaments from the Empires of the Ascended will be combined into a single total. So I also like that because once again, it might be a situation where you do really well in each seasonal tournament and you just can't seem to get top 4. Even if you fall in that situation, you still have a shot to get a seat in the tournament.
yeah. That's I think what everyone wants is to just have like an actual shot to win or to at least advance. I think that's fair.
Yes. After 16 finalists have proven themselves to be the best in the region, they will then move up to the big World Championship final. So my assumption is Once they get the 64 players, those 64 players will then compete in a tournament for the American region, the Europe region, and the Asia CAA region. And then they will get the seats from there. And then from there, they then compete into the big World Championship final. And then there's going to be $200,000 on the line for that tournament. And this is going to be interesting. I want your opinion on this. The 16 players will compete in a group stage featuring 4-player round robins. The top 2 finishers from each group will then advance to the final single elimination stage to crown Legend of Runeterra's first world champion. So what do you think about the 4-player round robins? I'm down. Like, I come from soccer, and this is kind of like how you do it in soccer. So this, I'm cool.
Yeah, like La Liga type stuff for this. Yeah. The only thing I don't like is best of 1 elims. That feels kind of bad. I always prefer to see like a loser bracket happen. Okay. So you could have like, if someone like gets knocked out in the quarters and then climbs all the way back to losers finals and makes it back for their like revenge arc of the person who knocked them out in the beginning, that is such a hype story.
Right.
Yeah. And that's like getting into some other stuff that I want to see. I want to see some like hype storylines. I want to see some like absolute grudge match battles.
Okay.
So yeah, seeing stuff like that. I understand why Riot does best of 1 because they do that in a bunch of their other tournaments, and it's just how they set stuff up. But I would prefer to see that losers bracket. That's the only thing. That's my only pick with this tournament. But I'll take I can get.
So talking about that, Christos, I wanted to make sure to bring it up on the show because I 100% agree with you when you're talking about creating these storylines. So I'm not sure if you know, I know I've mentioned it before, but I've been following League of Legends like pretty closely for the past, I want to say like 2-3 years. Mm-hmm. And Christos, that is without playing one single game.
This is so crazy to me because
I have not played one single game of League of Legends.
How do you have any idea of what's going on?
But this is the key. Because of the stories and because of like the drama and the grudge matches and the ability to like represent a team, that is what brought me into League of Legends. And I want to make sure that like Runeterra also does their best in terms of creating these type of storylines, because then it brings people like me who don't really know much about, League of Legends, but enjoy it because I want to be a part of something bigger than myself, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. And I think a convenient thing that Riot has going for it is that the casters who build this story will also cast LOR. Like, Freak is great at telling you exactly what's going on, and he's, a fan favorite for a decade now. And he casts LOR, so it's going to be great. Like, I think they have the talent to be able to deliver on what we're both looking for. So I will leave it. These guys are like the best of the best. So I would leave it up to them and hope that they deliver.
So what I would like to see is that each region creates like some hype with their regional tournament, and then just like go from there. Because like I don't want it to just be like just only about the world championship. Like I want some hype to be there for the best players in America, the best players in Europe, and the best players in Asia, and then from there to build up. Because once again, like if we want to see eyes, we want to see more people come to the game. Of course, the game has to be great. That's obvious. But I'm telling you, because me and my brothers, I'm telling you, we don't play League of Legends like that. We just don't. But if you tell us that Cloud9 is playing against Team Liquid, we're going to be watching that game, And I don't want to talk about it because the finals was absolutely terrible. Team Liquid.
Turks in playoff mode, man. He's too good.
Yeah,
He's
that
the
was
goat of the West.
That was, if y'all watch League of Legends, that was a painful loss for Team Liquid, especially to lose that way.
Yeah,
at the last game.
Go to comfort zone, baby.
Oh my gosh, I was crying. But anyway, But anyway, it's just we need to make sure to create those storylines. And a big thing or a big part of that is that I would like to see more of the esport orgs start coming into to Runeterra, because
I think it'd be cool.
they already have kind of like their fan base already pre-made. And once again, I know I might be different from other fans, but I'm a Team Liquid fan, right? So even though, once again, I have no idea what's happening in Valorant, but you can bet your bottom dollar that if Team Liquid is playing, I'm going to be supporting Team Liquid. And that just brings more people into the game. So definitely seeing some of the bigger esport orgs come in, especially now that they kind of see that, hey, Runeterra and Riot are trying to build, this kind of pro level. I think having more of the backing of those bigger esport organizations is going to be huge.
It's really interesting right now watching Valorant specifically because like all the big esport orgs can just lose on a weekend, and you have these like new young orgs that are like they have their team and like that's about it. They have like 5 guys to their whole brand, and it's cool to see like there's no TSN, there's no G2, there's no anybody really, and we just have all these new people.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And what does that create, Christos? That creates drama. That creates storylines.
It's hype, rivalry, everything you want to see. It's really cool. I like esports is in a really good spot right now.
Yes,
I'm very excited to see it continue.
That's what we need to bring over to Runeterra. Like, even though he retired, and even though he he was a character to say the least, but you bet when Double Lift was on Team Liquid, I was all about him. Like, he was reckless and he would cause drama, but like that's what you need. You need people like that. So I hope. God. Yeah, exactly. That's how it is. That's like the environment. That's the climate. So I think if Runeterra and Riot starts doing a good job of putting these players out to kind of like the forefront and making sure that they have their profiles done and you get to hear their backstories and you get to fall in love with them, I think it's just going to become more successful.
Yeah, really, as long as they don't put out obituary like tweets about their players, it should be fine.
Oh my god, he's just you're just going after, man. Like, oh man.
It is 2021. You're not allowed. Your companies, you're not allowed. You need to be better.
Oh.
You will get flamed by the internet, by me.
Oh.
I will flame you.
Oh my gosh. For y'all who may not know, there were players in the Magic the Gathering Pro level that got relegated, and the way that the social media team decided to say that those players were relegated was to kind of tweet out obituary style player profiles of the people who just lost their job and name the wrong cards for the players. Like, it was just, I don't understand what they were thinking. Like,
it's inexcusable. There's no like thought behind it.
Like, maybe they were trying to make them feel good. I have no idea. It was very bizarre, but it was not okay. So that's kind of what Christos is talking about right now.
Yeah, it's just like Riot hasn't done something I don't think quite that bad yet. Like they Riot has their own problems internally and everything, but their social media is almost always on point. They make like cool songs. Imagine we get like a KDA style stuff or style song, like anything.
I'm down.
To like the world ceremony for that. Oh, that'd be so hype.
And then actually that would be good to go with the community right now, because I'm not sure what started it, but now a lot of the content creators are like making their own Runeterra rap songs. Like, Majin Bay had one, Serena Grace and her partner had one. Just people are coming out like rap battles. Like, and I'm like, all right, okay. So
Yeah, good
doing,
sign.
yeah, doing something, and they're pretty good. And doing something with music, I think would be great for Runeterra as well. I just think this is a huge opportunity. Riot has shown history of doing well in these competitive scenes.
Yep.
So I'm just hoping that we can just build from that foundation and keep going. Because coming from Magic and seeing what happened there, that like disheartened me a lot because I used to be one of those like you know I was part of that team. I was a grinder,
Yeah.
man. Every weekend I was out in doing North Carolina, South Carolina. Um, you know, we went to Atlanta, Baltimore, just trying for my shot to make it big, and then for all of it to just go like that, it was just kind of heartbreaking. So
Yeah. Yeah.
to say it nicely, uh, so I hope that Riot does a good job with this tournament, and then what I would like to see, and I know it's kind of copying from the old Magic, but like I want to see more opportunities for players to make it through other tournaments. You know, like
Like chaining stuff together, or
yes,
okay.
kind of like once again my experience comes from Magic, but like you know if you do well in a quote unquote Star City version of Runeterra, you know,
Yeah,
you
that'd be
get a
nice.
shot, you get an ability to play in these type of tournaments. Just trying to bring as many people in and giving them the opportunity to make it is going to bring more people in. Like I understand that there's going to be a point where you're going to have to concentrate on the cream of the crop players because that's how
Mhm.
you get your drama and your storylines.
Yep.
But I think it's better to be as inclusive as possible because you know, and we'll talk about this later, but I like to play Runeterra to play Runeterra. I am not the biggest fan of actually watching it. So if there's this, you know, if you create an environment where if by playing in Runeterra I get to keep going higher, like I'm gonna try it and do it, you know?
Yep.
It's
I
not
think
like other sports where like you know soccer I can watch soccer all day every day without a problem and then play it. Runeterra is one of those things where like you wanna play it.
Yep. I think as long as there's like clear cut avenues to getting higher rewards, people will go for them. Like make things very straightforward, communicate with your player base, like this is what you want them to do, and then they'll do it. It's pretty simple, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you. And then talking about viewing the tournament, okay?
Hmm.
Once again, I've mentioned it just now. I'm not the biggest fan of watching digital card games because I feel like you, as a viewer, already kind of know what's going to happen because you already see the players their cards already. You know, like
Hmm.
you can look at both hands and kind of say like okay, player A has the advantage because player B doesn't have their, you know, their kill spell, doesn't have their
Yeah.
champion, and from there you watch the game. Most of the time these players are going to choose the optimum line, and then you kind of already know what the outcome's going to be. So my proposal, or just trying to think creatively here, is like in these type of tournaments like I feel like they should be streamed almost in three type of different views. Like you can watch the game in player A's perspective, you can
Yes.
watch the game in player's B perspective, or you can just watch the game with both hands out. If that makes sense. Because
No,
I'm
for sure.
like I'm 100% about once again like that drama. You know, like okay, I don't know what that other player has, so I'm gonna play this and hope they don't have the card. And like that little scenario, like it's exciting because you don't know what's gonna happen versus okay, I know that they're gonna kill the champion now and this game is practically over. You know, like that's why
Yeah.
I liked watching Magic so much in um in real life, like, you know, them playing the actual card game, because you couldn't always see what the player had. So those top decks and those crazy like double spelling plays where you didn't know that that's what the opponent had, those were the games that really created that drama, and you were like, oh man, what, that's no way, versus already having all the answers in front of you. I don't know if that's like possible really, but just something like that I think would create more drama in viewing the game.
So I don't think they'll be able to do like the three-way option of having like one on each and then one covering both. But they could do just for like every match, you pick one player, like higher seed or whatever, and you watch them and see what they do.
I'm down. Like I think at least in my eyes, and
I
then
don't know if it'll happen that way, but like just I can picture seeing like you see one set of cards and then the backs of the other, and you're just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and you watch that person play their best two out of three or best three out of five, whatever they're playing, best of one, what have you. And then if they advance, you watch that person the next round.
right, and then in that scenario, you also get to play. You get to quote unquote play the game too, right?
Yeah,
Because
you
then
see
you're like,
you're doing their
okay,
lines.
I'm gonna turn two do this, and then turn three I would do this, and see what my opponent does. Versus once
Exactly.
again, like there's no climax if you already know the answer. You know, like that's what kills it for me, because I can't tell you how many times I'll watch a game and then I'll be like, all right, this game's already over. They're
Yeah,
just
like you can see if you see both opening hands and one person just has the absolute nuts, you're like, all right,
right,
it's,
right.
I
Okay,
know this person's gonna get rolled.
yeah, like go on to the next match type of thing.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
it's just like the unknown information is really important in a broadcast.
yes.
That's why in League of Legends they turn off all the wards
Ah, okay. No, yeah, I didn't think about that.
so that you can see what team has vision, who does, who doesn't, and then they turn it on when it's not important, so you can see the whole map.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't think about that. But that's
Yeah.
also a lot. Like once again, that also creates the drama, and I love that.
Hmm.
And then Chris, in terms of the format,
Hmm.
right? Would you like to see any type of changes to kind of how they do this, you know, choose the deck you want to ban, kind of riot locked type of format?
So if there were sideboarding, I would definitely change it. But the way LOR is set up now, I think this is like the only feasible way to go about it. And it also gives us a wider look at a metagame. So we can see who brings what and what their thought process is. Now, knowing their thought process is going to be an important part of like player interviews and the questions that you ask, like why did you bring X deck? Why did you do this? Why did you do that? All these things are important to fill in the question marks that the audience will have of like what's good, what's bad, who's good and who's bad, who deserves to be there and who's gonna like run the table with their competition. Like all of these things are important, and seeing how the format goes into it, like it makes sense that all of the decks are the way that they are, like the way that people think about things, think about the matchups. All of it kind of comes together, and you need to think about like every piece as one, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Do you think there needs to be any just for sake of conversation? Do you think there needs to be any like limited play type of showcase, or just keep it kind of
Mm,
constructed?
I don't think so. Like Riot does an okay job at displaying new cards as it is. So I don't think their main focus should be limited. It should probably be constructed because limited's hard to watch from card game history. So like constructed formats are probably what most people play, I have to imagine. So sticking to that seems like a logical choice.
And then number two question: when should the world championship happen in terms of when new cards come out? Because
Um,
I know that the professionals are always going to be like, hey, like, you need to run this tournament, like 3 to 4 weeks after the expansion comes out. But wouldn't it
mhm.
be devilishly fun if, like,
Yes. The answer is yes.
if, like, they do it like maybe like a week or 2 weeks right after the expansion so that it really tests these players and their deck building skills.
So Magic used to do this with their Pro Tours, where there would be a set release, and then 1 week to the day afterwards, a Pro Tour would start. And
I,
so people would have to scramble to like test all the new cards, figure out what's good, what belongs where, and go from there. So maybe not in a Worlds format, but like an every like a Cosmic Creation type event would be fine. Probably not Worlds. Worlds is like should be, in my opinion, reserved for like a solved metagame, and then you take the people who have mastered it the best and tweak it ever so slightly so that they get their narrow advantages.
got okay.
Yeah, I think Worlds should be who's the best master, not who's the master of the weekend.
Okay. I like that. I like that. I just want to see some chaos, man. I want to see
I
people
like
like
chaos, and I like people like Saucy that bring some crazy stuff like that.
yeah.
That makes me happy in like a world environment because it's usually like a super inbred metagame, and people know what like everyone knows each other in the community, so they know what they're gonna play. But people like that bring some jank or some like tier 2 stuff that might shake everything up are really fun to watch.
like I know this is for Magic, but like I would always love seeing what the Japanese players would bring in these tournaments
Yeah, they
because
always have some
they
spicy meatballs.
always had some spicy meatball and they would always be good. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was actually a Japanese player that brought in Hollow One, and watching him do that and be so successful with it was just absolutely bonkers. So I hope that we kind of see something like that in this world championship because, as I said, we want the drama, we want the spice in this. It's going to be the first tournament for a lot of the players, and once again, if we can nail this, we just have the sky to grow to.
Yeah, I think it'll be great. I'm excited to see like what and how these players go about creating decks and doing all that sort of fun stuff. Um, I hope the. I imagine like with the amount of new cards and stuff that comes about, we'll see various metagame changes.
Yes.
So we can only hope and pray that we don't see mirror matches all day long because that's kind of miserable. But like in these types of metagames, it's bound to happen
Yes.
because people will just figure out the best stuff and we'll see mirrors of it, whatever, it happens. But we don't want that to be like 80% of what we're watching, right?
Right. No, thank you.
Yeah. So I guess the only thing we can hope for is that it's diverse enough to have like a really enjoyable experience and hope that it's enough, really.
And having the format the way it is, it could add that level of just diversification in the sense that some players don't want to play certain decks, so they'll automatically ban that one where other
Mhm.
players won't. So hopefully that brings enough spice and it brings enough just diversification to watching these type of tournaments.
Yeah, that's basically all we can ask for.
And folks, that's pretty much all that we wanted to really talk about for the championship. We do recognize, and I keep saying it, that it is a very huge opportunity for the community to grow and to get some extra eyes onto Runeterra because, the bigger we make it, the more people that follow, the more money that gets involved, the bigger and better it hopefully gets. So we're excited for this opportunity. If you want to talk to us about what you think the championship should look like, go ahead. You can tweet me at RicoPlay1723 or El Charua Rico. You can also comment on our YouTube at Casual Tryhard Legends of Runeterra. And where can they find you and the podcast Twitter, Christos?
So I am at twitter.com/ChrisTossyVivo. I post garbage for the most part. And
No, you.
uh, and then our lovely podcast is at casual_pod. I post varying memes, varying announcements, and all of our episode information every week.
And remember, folks, we keep saying it. Don't be afraid to tweet at us, DM us, interact with us. We would love to start building a bigger community. Once again, I see that people do listen to us, so that's great. Just come on down so we can actually have some others to interact with. As I said, I want to build something great and beautiful here. But from Rico Plays, as always, it's sayonara.
And we'll see you next time, Summoners.
14 hours straight.
Listen,
and Path of Exile.
Don't come at me with this tone of voice, okay? I have serious farming to do and need to make money in Path.
So
it has to be done.
So Christos, let me try to get the general idea of what happens here, okay?
Okay.
You have your character. You want to build your character in a certain way. Okay?
Yes.
I'm just gonna name one. I'm gonna say a like an assassin build, right?
Okay.
So you then start, you say grinding or farming, but you start smacking enemies and beating the living crap out of them to then get more experience and money to then start getting better weapons and powers. Is that correct?
Kind of. So we don't get like better powers because every skill in the game is available to buy once you complete the campaign. Every league.
Oh.
So you can like, once you do that, you can do so. Okay, Path has a leveling system of 1 to 100, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you finish the campaign by like 64-ish usually. And then you go into like the end game, which is like doing some extra stuff that's not important right now. But you mostly have like your final skills that you're going to use by like 50-ish, usually. Okay. So then you do that, you work, and like by the time you're done with the campaign, you have garbage gear. It's terrible. It's not really important. And then you hit a thing called maps, and you go in there, and like that's where you make the real money in the game, and you can buy better stuff. And then you do that until the end of time.
Now,
that's how it works.
That last component to get the better gear and better weapons, is it more of a prestigious type of thing, or is there like what's the end goal there? Because it's fine if it's prestigious. I mean, like I play card games and I've played Magic the Gathering where like you spend your money to get the best cards and the cards with best history. So I get that. But is there more to it?
So the difference between like endgame and like turbo optimized endgame is only a few percentage points. But those few percentage points cost so much in-game currency that it takes a very long time to get. If that like puts it into perspective, like I have really good stuff, but I could get better stuff. But it costs me like 40 hours of farming.
But that's worth... I'm not trying to sound cynical, but that's worth it to you.
Yes. Because it makes everything... like, it's just all about like optimizing speed.
So that you can run through the dungeons quicker.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the whole idea. Like, I can kill a map in like 30 seconds. But if I could do it in 20 seconds... that's so many more maps per hour.
So
that's the goal.
Okay. So that's kind of like the feedback loop that you like.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And like getting more money is a dopamine hit. And like getting rare drops is a dopamine hit. Like there's a thing called, so chaos is like $1 in-game currency, and then there's things called exalts, which are like $100 because they cost 100 chaos usually. And when you get an exalt, it's like a 1 in like 4 million drop,
What?
something ridiculous. And I've gotten two of them so far this league. So now I'm like kind of giga rich. And I'm like working on buying gear and stuff. And like to buy gear, you have to message like the person who has it and has put it up on the marketplace. Like you have to go to a website and then look for the stuff that you need, and then message that person. They might not message back, so you have to do like a whole bunch of stuff. And then yeah,
So you have
that's
to
the goal.
interact with someone to get that gear.
Yes, like someone owns it, and like I've sold a bunch of stuff, because like you can pick up gear on the ground, like might be good, might be bad. And then you pick it up, put
Interesting.
it on the marketplace, and then sometimes it sells, sometimes it doesn't.
Interesting. Okay.
Mhm.
So I kind of
So
get it, but I just don't know if I can put that many hours into it, man. That's crazy.
yeah, like you can play Path for like an hour a day and like get to the like fairly close end game, but like you will not get to like the end game of bosses.
And this is something that you play with your boys, right?
Yes, like we don't even play together like in the same instance of the game, but we play in the same like we're in the same guild, but we're not doing anything together. It's all solo, but we're in the same group.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
That is dedication, sir.
Yeah. It's a whole time. Every 3-ish months.
Well, there you have it, folks. If you
Yeah,
want
so I let me open Steam and I'll tell you how many hours I have on Path.
okay.
So I've played for like two of these instances, like pretty hardcore. Like the last one was when we just started the pod,
Right.
and now this one. Oh, I need Steam, not the actual game. Community library. Path of Exile. I have 264 hours played. That is not even a lot.
I oh my god.
Yeah,
264 hours?
yeah, that's like nothing. Like
God,
to be considered like experienced in Path, you need like 3,000 hours.
no thank you. That's crazy, dude.
It's crazy. Like
Oh,
actually, I know it's batshit, but I'm still here.
but I'm still here.